from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Friday, March 14th. Okay, so welcome to the full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo day. We have a lot going on here today. We are kicking off the day with this full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo that we've been building towards for what seems to be weeks now. Of course, we were thrown into the eclipse energies pretty much immediately after we had that new moon in Pisces that we've been working on. And over the course of this last week, we've definitely been building in the feels, building in the chaos, building in the dysfunction, building in the triggers and the activations within ourselves so that the darkest parts of us can come out to play. Be very, very much in our faces for this release point, this elimination point, this detox point that the full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo, of course, lends us. So let me just start off by saying that there is the March energy guide available to you, specifically tailored for your zodiac sign. If you don't have that in front of you, you should definitely download that. Flip to this particular section in your workbook because this is going to be a banger. Just considering the fact that we started this Virgo Pisces axis back in the fall of 2024, we will continue to work on this axis until February of 2027. This is a very important time to capture the events going on for you, the changes, the transformations going on within you, because this is a storyline that we are just dipping our toe into and that you're going to want to kind of keep track of over the next couple of years. It's going to be very revealing because, of course, dealing with the Pisces energy, that means that we are ending, closing a particular chapter, a particular cycle, and you're really going to want to reference back to these particular points in time, especially in a couple of years from now, when we then go ahead and kind of shift into a different chapter, a different life lesson. You're going to want your full eclipse story available to you. So, of course, if you don't have the moon guide that we've been working on since that new moon in Pisces in front of you as well, you should definitely get that. Because, of course, although we don't really try to manifest too hard in eclipse energies, because again, we're not really in power and in control. The universe kind of has the steering wheel of this particular juncture. It is good to be tracking what we're focused on, what's being triggered and activated in this lunar cycle as far as our manifestations go. And of course, there are plenty of resources in order for you to stay in alignment with these energies. There is an astro forecast for this particular event. If you really want to do a deep dive, please consider tapping into the astro class that I created for this particular event. You can find that pay-per-view on my Patreon, or of course, I would encourage you to become a Patreon member. Gain access not only to all of the astro classes, but so much more content that I could even rattle off in this particular episode. So again, may I remind you, this is not only the full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo day, it is also the last day that Mercury, the ruler of this eclipse event, will be direct. We have Mr. Mercury going retrograde, not only 24 hours within this pop off, this shift change, this change and transformation. So we are all over the place. And of course, with Mercury's retrograde, he will be chasing Venus, already retrograde, through the depths of the darkness, through the underworld. Our heart, Venus, our head, Mercury, going through a total renovation, a total restructuring, total rebranding, total recalibration. So again, in that workbook, we have all of the information needed in order to understand not only your eclipse story, but your retrograde story as well. I would definitely not be sleeping on myself with all of these energies popping off, considering the fact that we are at the tail end of this astrological year, meaning, again, we have just about a couple of days of this Pisces season left before we move into that equinox energy. And when the sun moves into Aries and triggers the brand new astrological year and calendar, not only are we going to feel refreshed, renewed, revived, but we are going to be on a totally different playing field, different battlefield. And the fact that we move through that equinox energy smack dab in the middle of this eclipse season, this retrograde season, this is a season like no other. And again, would not be sleeping on myself through this particular energies. So with all of that being said, there are 7 different aspects popping off here today. 6 of them are going to involve the moon. May I also remind you that we have this moon event reaching its peak potency at 2:55 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll talk about that in just a second. But we then have the moon going void, of course, at 1:48 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we lock into Libra energy at 3 p.m., which I think I talked about in this week's Ascension forecast about the kind of coincidence, if you believe in that of course, Venus and Mars have ruled over the past two karmic cycles of the North Node, South Node, kind of doing their thing. And, this time around, it's between Mercury and Mars. Mars will be the ruler over that new moon solar eclipse in Aries that we will be having towards the end of March. But I find it interesting because Mercury pretty much rules over this eclipse energy. We go through the processing in our mental plane, and then we have Mr. Mercury kind of pass the baton back to Venus because she rules over that Libra energy. We're still going to be very much in this full moon lunar eclipse energy when the moon shifts into Libra energy. And then Mercury's going to peace out in retrograde, and he's going into the underworld to chase Venus. So I think that there's a very interesting dynamic going on here. Of course, I love those patterns. I love those, little indicators of what it is that we're going to go through. With 7 different aspects popping off here today, it would be, quote unquote, a quiet day in the cosmos, but with an eclipse energy, there's wild card energies coming at us. There's an intensity coming at us. The Ascension symptoms are going to be popping off. Take a listen to that forecast. Jump over to my Patreon. Download your Ascension guide. Stay in the play-by-play with the day-by-day Ascension symptom forecast that I put out, the guides that I put out every day over on my Patreon, because we're going to have a lot of energy popping off and therefore a lot of aches and pains and discomfort popping off in our physical form. So with all of that being said, we jump into the day, 2:55 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have the moon in Virgo energy directly opposing, sitting across from the sun in Pisces, which gives us our full moon lunar eclipse energies. And of course, we are kicking the day off with this. If any of us are lucky enough to sleep, consider yourself blessed, especially feeding off of the last aspect that we had yesterday, the moon's opposition to Saturn. We were definitely triggered and activated. We were supposed to be, so that we were sitting in the funk and we were agitated as all F, because again, the shadow parts of self need to come into the surface of our awareness to actually do something about it. And we're wasting no time here today. We start the day off with this lunar eclipse energy. It's definitely going to push us into a breakthrough situation. Now, lucky for us, we have the moon in Virgo trining, which is a beautiful interaction, with Uranus, the great awakener, in Taurus energy shortly after this full moon reaches its peak. Now, a trine means that we are dealing with like-minded elements, and in this case, this is Earth on Earth. Virgo energy is an Earth energy ruled over by Mercury, and of course, Taurus energy is in Earth energy ruled over by Venus. And so Mercury and Venus are kind of coming together already, even though we haven't passed the baton as of yet. Now, Uranus, the great awakener, he likes to send lightning bolts towards the earth, especially into the highest realms of our consciousness, so that we can kind of have this awakening. We can feel destabilized in our physical bodies and our physical circumstances because we're gaining insight, we're gaining downloads. There's going to be a shift in our mood and our attitude. We are going to see a lot of clarity come in here today. We likely won't be able to make much of it because, of course, we're in eclipse. That means that we're sitting in the dark. So it is going to take a couple of days, if not weeks, and sometimes months in order to fully grasp what it is that we're being downloaded with. However, this is a positive shift. This is going to illuminate for us where it is that we are kind of willing to let go of doing the same old thing, where it is that we are gaining insight and clarity on what it is that we could do differently to improve our physical circumstances. And of course, in this trine, there's a gentle nudge, a gentle ease, if you will, on seeing where it is that we've been the problem, holding on to dead weight, holding on to the old, and we are finally ready under this full moon lunar eclipse to let some things go. We then have the sun in Pisces energy sextiling Uranus. This is a beautiful interaction because, of course, we love when Pisces and Taurus energy is working well together, because whatever it is that we can dream up, whatever it is that we're feeling, whatever it is that we are receiving as far as intuitive insights go, we're actually able to bring it to form, build something in our physical realms off of those hopes, wishes, and dreams. Now, the sun and Uranus kind of shake things up again. We are going to get another jolt, another lightning bolt of energy to our physical bodies, but this is kind of opening us up. We're seeing ourselves from a different lens. We are renewing our hopes, our faith, our wishes, our dreams. We are seeing the forest past the trees. And at this particular juncture, we are kind of ready to rebel against the same old, because that's what Uranus likes to kind of trigger us to do, is to be spontaneous enough to break out of the form, out of the rut that we have been sitting in. And so this is definitely going to have us kind of a little bit jittery. Again, Ascension symptoms are just going to be popping here today. But we are definitely starting to see where it is that we are kind of busting out of our shells, where we are growing, we are healing, we are fixing, we are repairing our identity, the way that we see ourselves, the way that we are going to now assert ourselves out into the world because of this major change and transformation in our soul and our spirit. We are seeing the options and opportunity to make those changes in our physical realm. And of course, it all starts with a visual, with an idea, and then backed with an emotion, and then getting the heart and head on the same page before we can engage the physical body to take moves, take action out in the external realm. So this is a buzzy type of energy, but it's also a liberating type of energy. It is definitely kind of supporting us in this growth process, in this change, in this transformation. But of course, we then have the moon in Virgo energy nearing the final degrees of this Virgo energy in preparation of going void, of course, to pass the baton over to Venus as we watch the moon shift into Libra energy, which of course means the moon in Virgo is going to be sitting across from, directly opposing, first, that North Node in Pisces that, of course, has given us this beautiful lunar eclipse energy. And then we're going to directly oppose Neptune because, of course, Neptune is in his rulership. He's in this Pisces energy. He's in the final degrees of this Pisces energy. So an opposition just allows us to see where there's a tension point where we have to strive a little bit more for balance, if you will. The moon's opposition to that North Node in Pisces, first and foremost, is going to put us in a situation where we're feeling hella confused. And especially coming out of the trine with Uranus and then the sextile between the sun and Uranus, we were feeling good. We were gaining a visual. We were gaining confidence. We were kind of restoring and renewing our hopes, our wishes, our dreams. And of course, with the Virgo energy, we can't rely on hopes, wishes, and dreams. We have to be logical and practical in what we need to do in the physical realm in order to actually support those goals, visions, and dreams and give it a foundation to actually be birthed onto. And so right now, we're kind of nitpicking. We're kind of too focused on the smaller details. And although that North Node in Pisces wants us to think about the path that we need to get on, the goal, the vision, the dream that we want to be working towards, it's all a little bit vague. It's all a little bit overwhelming. It's all a little bit confusing. And so the tendency is kind of going to be a cluster F in our head space and in our heart space. Again, really addressing the fears, the doubts, the insecurities that might be rising to the surface of our awareness as we're kind of contemplating what needs to be done in order for us to break down and break through this particular roadblock, so to speak. And again, this roadblock is in our mental plane, is in our emotional realm as well. And of course, that opposition with Neptune is going to blur the lines that much further, going to kind of confuse things that much further, overwhelm us that much further. And it is at 1:48 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in this opposition with Neptune that, of course, the moon is going to go void, of course. We sit in that void for about an hour 10 minutes-ish, and then the moon shifts into Libra energy. And let's just talk about the transition from Virgo to Libra energy for just a second. First of all, the Libra energy feels a lot lighter, a lot brighter, because of course it's an air energy. We're moving out of the physical body, out of the physical form. But the Virgo energy has us reevaluating, has us reanalyzing, dissecting our lives of what is working, what is not, who and what needs to stay, needs to go. The Libra energy, of course, is going to attempt to balance those particular scales, to find a new grounding point, find a new compromise point. And of course, just a reminder, if this was a normal moon in Libra, we would be starting off with the intensities of the extremes. And eventually, over the next couple of days of having the moon transit this Libra energy, we would find that peace, harmony, and balance. The typical energy of the moon in Libra is that we want to keep things light and fluffy. However, There are going to be some aspects over the next couple of days, just because we are in a full moon energy, just because we are in eclipse energy, just because we do have Mercury retrograding, that likelihood of staying in that light, fluffy energy probably going to be pretty difficult, if I do say so myself. And so, yes, there is a lightness that kind of takes over when we shift into this Libra energy, but we also have to kind of keep in the back of our mind that Venus rules over this Libra energy, and she is currently retrograde in Aries energy that sits exactly across from this Libra energy. So she's actually going to be eventually opposing her own rulership, and that is definitely going to do a very significant number on our heart space. The moon in Libra, though, is then going to make a beautiful interaction with Mars, Mars being the god of war, ruling over physical energy, our drive, our passion, our desire, even our anger. We have Mr. Mars still in this Cancer energy, which of course he does not enjoy being in. However, he is doing what he can in this Cancer energy, which is strengthening our inner realm of emotion, stabilizing our inner realm of emotion, recognizing who and what means the most to us and what is, well, let's say who and what is worthy of fighting, defending, and protecting. Preserving. And so again, emotionally speaking, we're in this air energy. And so everything is kind of buzzy. Everything is positive. Everything is light and fluffy. And Mars is going to be tapping into this and trying to kind of motivate us, trying to get us focused on what we want to build and create, what we're feeling emotionally and intuitively called to do and pursue. And of course, emotionally speaking, we're teeter-tottering in this Libra energy between some of the thoughts, some of the ideas that, of course, we've been on the fence about, percolating about. Mars is helping us to lean into one path, one direction over the other. The last thing that we have going on here today is the moon in this Libra energy trining, which is a beautiful interaction with Pluto, the great transformer, who of course is in Aquarius energy. So this is going to be beautiful for us because we are kind of feeling the breakthrough energy. We're feeling the boss up energy. We are feeling more clear in our headspace and in our heart space, I would say. And because this is a gentle nudge in the right path, in the right direction, this is us overcoming a lot of the fears, the doubts, the insecurities that we've been sitting in, not only for today, but for the last week or so. Again, the build up to this full moon lunar eclipse event has been specifically about triggering and activating the worst parts of the shadow self. And so Pluto is here to kind of enforce this major change, this major transformation in our soul, in our spirit, in our emotions. And we are starting to orient to the more positive side of things. We are starting to see the forest past the trees. We are focusing on what could be without the fears, the doubts, the insecurities, kind of filtering the possibilities, the probabilities of us being able to achieve the new goals, visions, and dreams that, of course, have us semi-excited. So this is a beautiful way to kind of end off the craziness of the day and putting us in a totally different mood, different attitude to see ourselves, to see our physical realms, to see the options and opportunities from a completely different lens.